This is some really neat history, and hopefully you can read that. At the video, you can pause it and then read up on it, but basically what it's saying is, in 1836, right after the Texas Revolution, they started building this fort, and talks about the gun mounts and the fortifications and naming it William B. Travis. This fort was also used 1863 during the Civil War. And you can see one of the old gun emplacements right there. And of course, just out there is the bay. You can see the ships out there. This is pretty cool. There's the earthworks on just the other side of that. Not Battery Kimball, but on the other side of that is like where the barracks was. So, you want to walk out to the seawall? Now, it isn't marked the best in the world where it's at, but you can see probably an underground armory over there. Basically, Texas took it over as a park, a state park after a while, after the military was done with it, after World War II. And I read also it served as a prisoner of war facility during World War II, housing Germans here. So it has a really interesting history. Beautiful area. Nice picnic area. You can walk up and down the seawall. You can see behind us the little parking area, and you can drive around a little bit.
That goes over by that store and other ways.
And you can see the lighthouse in the distance over there. But it's really cool. But those are gun emplacements over there. Now, during World War II, German submarines were very active on the East Coast and in the Gulf of Mexico, sinking a lot of Allied shipping. So that's why they fortified the area, because of a lot of the German submarine activity. So nobody really remembers how close the German army was, well, not the army, but the Navy, to coastal United States. It was just off the coast. Most of the shipping was out of like the New York area, and they used to sink a lot of Allied ships right at the beginning of the war when America got into it. So that was the reason they built a lot of these forts. So this is kind of cool. That's a really long seawall there.
Old Brick Street.
Yeah. You can see a shrimp boat out there. They've done a lot of fortifications over the years because of hurricanes and water, and so you can see a lot of the fortifications to the seawall they've made. Of course, it goes a long ways down there. Picture in your mind of this gun emplacement with machine guns sticking out through that hole in the concrete breastworks to protect the coast. course, as ever with Texas, you gotta,
Don't go down in there.
you kind of gotta watch the fire ants. But you can see the slit there in the concrete reinforcement where the gun would stick out to help protect the coast. This information panel is pretty faded out, but what it's talking about is the first lighthouse was constructed near this site in 1852, but it didn't survive the Civil War. And they built another lighthouse in 1872, and that's the one that you see. Well, it's behind the big earthworks there, so you can't see it right now, but the military post staff and other collection refugees waited with the storm in nearby Fort Travis. Fort was not spared the heavy damage sustained across the Bay Area. As a result, a new 17-foot seawall was built.
That was from the 1900 hurricane.
1900 storm, 1900 hurricane, yeah. So they need a new panel here. We'll go over there and see that earthworks, but we're going to walk down the seawall just a little bit. Now, fortunately, they don't let you go in there, but that's pretty cool. They got a gate or fence around it. But there's an information panel over here, and so we'll go over and see what it says. But that is pretty neat. Individual little rooms. Over there is the campground area, and shower, bathhouse, and cabanas and thing are over there on that side. So we'll go up here and see what this panel says. What's it say, Tammy? Oh, now that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this picture. The helmets that they're wearing look like World War I helmets.
Well, it was.
But I haven't read it yet, so I don't know.
1898 or started and completed in October of 1899.
Well, that's way before World War I. He was killed in the Mexican War. Oh, be darned. 8-inch breech loading guns. Look at that. The guns were arranged so that they stay below the parapet on the battery, so you couldn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is
Genius.
It was cool. When the gun was fired, the recoil pushed it back into its pit.
Look, there used to be train tracks along here.
Yeah, you can see in this picture that used to be train tracks. Of course, that's how they probably got the guns in and the ammunition and so forth. Wow. You can see the plans.
You can actually see some tracks down there.
Oh, yeah. Down in the sidewalk, inside the gate, you can actually see some railroad tracks down in there. You probably can't see it from this distance, but... Oh. Can you imagine, just try to use your imagination to see them big guns mounted up there like it was in the picture. Of course, the rooms below help house the crews, the gun crews.
Get the ammunition together.
Yeah. Well, the ammunition was heavy. I mean, you couldn't carry it or truck it. they brought it in by rail. That was cool. You can see there the concrete stairs going up the side of that, where they would run up to the top of the parapet and be able to walk across the top of it. And of course, based on what we were reading to you, I mean, it was really old. So you can see the concrete, and down where it goes in to the ground, it's got a lot of cracks in it. And why shouldn't it, as old as it is? But of course, with all the hurricanes and everything, and it's hit the coast of Texas, it's taken abuse, but it's still there. So, and over there is Galveston, and the two towers that you see way over there is a hotel. And that's the very
That's the eastern tip there.
yeah, the very eastern tip of Galveston Island. And over there in that section is the city of Galveston. And a little bit farther over, in this area over here, you can see that's the area where they build oil rigs. That's also the area where the USS Texas is currently in dry dock. So yeah, and you can see ships that are anchored out in the beginning of the channel in the bay. And over there is the ferry going back to the mainland.
One just coming in over here too.
So it's a very, very nice park, but a lot of seabirds. But it's cool.
Yes.
If you bring your picnic lunch, what we've got, you can sit out here on the picnic table and stuff, and maybe have a dolphin watch, huh?
That's correct.
Yeah, Tammy and I were just talking. This was originally built in
Started in 1898, finished in 1899.
So you can see how old it is.
But it's amazing that it's still there. The sea air hasn't just disintegrated it totally.
Oh yeah. Of course, World War I wasn't until like 1919, and it served, you know, during the World War II.
Well, it had to go through the hurricane in 1900 too.
Yeah, 1900 in the hurricane. So yeah, it's seen its fair share of abuse. Now we're going to walk over here to this breastworks and check it out. And then we'll get back to you. Okay, we're up at the other area, and I'm sure that's a gun emplacement.
There's a plaque on the inside.
So we'll roam through this area, find the plaque, and what's some kind of doors, isn't it? Shame no one wants to go in there. Oh, the gnats. But let me tell you, those doors are something. Well, especially when they were first built. Now, through the ravages of time, you can see the rust off them, but it'd be kind of cool to go in there. This place is huge.
Maybe they're sandflies.
Yeah. Look at this door, Tammy.
Oh,
Oh, that's cool. Of course, the hinges are rusted away, but and up there is, I'm sure, the air intake system, or what's left of it. But you can just imagine, use your imagination of what this place was like back in its day, you know. Of course, they took coastal defense seriously back in those days. And everybody's talking about the balloons today, you know, that they found flying over the U.S. Well, the Japanese did that back in 1943 and 44. They launched balloons from Japan, used the jet stream, and they ended up over the U.S. Here's some more of them big doors. Of course, they got them padlocked, but you can see how thick they were at one time. They're quite rusty now, but I was trying to look in the hole, but you can't see anything. It's dark in there, but the doors are really rusty. I'm gonna go over here where Mom's at, on this info panel. And I'm sure that was out in front where that big circle was. And this is where the gun emplacements were. You can see the overall layout on this, where everything was located. But this is battery 236. Let me get over here, maybe you can read that a little better. Battery 236 was constructed in reinforced concrete. Were designed to replace obsolete Endicott period batteries. By 1940, the Coast Artillery no longer named its smaller installations. They were simply designated by their construction number. Construction of Battery 236 started on October 19th, 1942. Wow. Completed in July 1945. Deactivated in 1946. Completely encased in dirt, giving the battery better protection and camouflage. Battery was designed to defend approaches to Galveston Harbor from mine layers and submarines. The facility was supposed to house 2 6-inch rapid-fire guns. While the battery was completed and accepted, the gun tubes were never received and the battery was never armed. Well, they did assess the danger and probably concluded that it wasn't needed, and then had other uses for it. But I mean, you can imagine after Pearl Harbor, everybody was just, they didn't know what to expect. And of course, then we were fighting World War II on a 2-front war, Japanese in the Pacific and the Germans, you know, in the Atlantic. So had the Japanese been able to take Pearl Harbor, their next plan of attack was basically California and San Diego. So, and like I was saying, the Germans were roaming all over the Atlantic side and in the Gulf. So, had the Germans been able to succeed in Europe, who knows what would have happened. But there's a lot of history, you know, and it's fascinating to read about it. Also over there you can see the lighthouse that is still standing there. We passed by it as we got off the ferry. Of course, it's no longer used now that everybody uses GPS. But then again, think to yourself, what happens when GPS doesn't work. So, well, we won't go there. But this place is kind of cool. Observation tower was at one time built there.
Probably just over the top of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure those are air intake vents. It'd be really neat to go inside that thing.
Yeah.
But it's probably just a big empty chamber. You know what this reminds me of? We used to live in Jasper, Indiana.
Oh, mounds.
And up north of there is Crane Naval Facility, which is still there.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of these earthen breastworks like this that had stored in them all guns and all kinds of things for Navy ships, and who knows what all was in there. I'm sure Amanda's father knows, and Amanda too probably. But it reminds me of Crane Base, Naval Base in southern Indiana. But it's still an active base there, so at least I think it is. But anyway, it reminds me of that. Well, the sign says, please keep off the bunker, but I'd love to go up there. But you can see these little fortifications, I'm sure, where the guards would stay. The opposite side of it with these big doors. But I think it'd be cool to go inside there, but at any rate, they don't let you. You can see this is the other big gun emplacement on the opposite side of it. And you can remember the picture that I showed you a while ago on that placard. This was one gun pointing out to sea, and the other one was on the other side of the mountain. Kind of like two Mickey Mouse ears sticking out, you know. But, and the guns really were not, it's like on a ship. The gun is not permanently mounted. The weight of the gun is what keeps it on the assembly. And so, like on Navy ships, if the ship turned upside down, the guns just fell off because they weren't attached. Same thing here. The guns were so heavy that it set on this rotating assembly. But wow, this is cool. We're gonna walk over to where the truck is and take a look at what I think was like the barracks and office areas, but we'll go over and take a look at it. Of course, you see these concrete works here. The one on the other side was like the mess hall. The buildings are long gone, but I'm sure it's probably offices or whatever. And we give you an overall view of what this looks like. Some of the signs say, if you can't read them, storage, officer's latrine, computer room. Of course, it's not what you think about computers today. But you can walk down in there and go up the stairs, so we'll do that in a minute. But what did it say it was? Battery?
Kimball.
Kimball. We'll see what this has to say. You can see the guns, and it's a similar design as the one we just looked at. You got the center area, and you got the Mickey Mouse ears on either side of it. You can see where the guns were, here and here. Construction began in August 1917, completed April 1922. named after Edwin R. Kimball, lost his life in 1918 during World War I. Two 12-inch surplus World War I guns, a range of 17 miles. The battery included a chemical decontamination chamber, plotting rooms enlisted, and officers' latrines, and a large magazine chamber. Of course, they kept the gunpowder and shell separately. Reinforced concrete, earthworks, and brick. 1943, both Battery Kimball guns and carriages were transferred to Battery 520 in South Carolina. Kimball, along with Fort Travis, was deactivated in 1943. Well, the Germans were more active on the East Coast, not necessarily as much in the Gulf as the war progressed. But wow, that is something. Okay, now we get to walk down inside it. There's an entrance right over here. Look at that, chemical warfare service room, switchboard room. Look at these doors. Wow. That's something. Of course, at one time they had lights up there. So they got one of the doors open down here. I'm sure there's not much in it now, just a big empty room, but you see where some of the concrete is corroded away, but you can see the individual areas in there. I don't know if you can actually see. Let me get my hand in here and go this way so you can see just what it looks like in there. And there's another door and room over there to that side. Of course, I'm sure they had big trucks and stuff too, that they could actually swing these doors, these open, and then just drive things right into there. But of course, these gates might have been added, who knows when. I would think when it was first built, but
well, that looks like that's fixed. That's just for personnel to go through.
Yeah. But can you imagine the noise that would be generated inside these buildings with the echo and everything that even we hear now?
There used to be a door there.
Yeah, you can see what it.
Close it off, like, for winter.
You can see how rusty them hinges and everything is. I mean, why not? Look how old the place is. Wonder what was. I don't know if that just crumbled or if there was actually something installed there one time. I don't know. But you can kind of see how it's constructed. In some areas you can see the rebar is being exposed where the concrete's broken away. But huh? Yeah, I know. Man, these things are steep for us old people. And this, I'm sure, would take you up right to the very top of it where you could walk across it, but they've got it locked off so you can't. But that looks like nothing but a big ground strap. But where some of that's lighting, it's just that the wiring is so old. You can see how the reinforcement bars are showing through the concrete. It'd be a shame to lose something like this. And you look at these railings and how many men's hands has been on this railing. Plotting room. Well, you'd have two different plotting rooms for this gun on the left side and for the other gun on the right side. But it was all manual, analog type stuff. They bricked up some of the areas, probably because the doors completely rusted away. Enlisted latrine. Of course, the enlisted was on one side, hospitals are on the other. Totally separate. Well, you know, that's how the military even is today. The enlisted and the officers shall not mix. But can you imagine the amount of concrete is in this thing?
They didn't have the good old cement mixers we got nowadays.
No. And of course, it's all covered with dirt. And hopefully to withstand any bomb that was dropped on it from coastal guns or from airplanes or whatnot. Of course, it never had to endure that. And you can see the gun emplacement right over there. And they would talk to each other via headphones or, back in the day, hand signals. But it makes you wonder how many, if there are any tunnels underneath of the ground here. Well, that looks like a tunnel under there, but who knows what that is? It doesn't say, but of course you look at this area down here for water to run off, and who knew what else they used it for. But I mean, if you were lucky enough, you know, in the Army to be stationed stateside at one of these facilities, you were in the home guard versus being overseas. I can't imagine what it was like. Of course, I was in the Navy, so but it's fun to try to use your imagination and try to think about what this place was like back in this day. Well, they didn't know what to expect, you know. The Germans had used chemical weapons back in World War I. Mustard gas. More stairs that would go up to the top of the battery. But you can see the time that has changed the facility, and I'm sure it'll be here many, many more years. As much concrete is put in it, but well, that's true. I mean, there might come a time when they have to cordon off the whole area because it just got too old, but who knows when that'll be. Storage areas.
There must have been something now because it's the same kind of hole.
Well, I don't know. There was something there at one time. I wouldn't think it would be a window, but
Oh, it's shaped.
I don't have my flashlight, but you can't see in there because it's too dark. But I don't know why they've knocked a hole in the bricks. Maybe for air circulation, because I would imagine it would get damp in there. This is cool. Of course, here's the other gun emplacement. They got signs to keep off the bunker, so they don't want you going up there on top of it. That's a shame, because it would be fun to go up there. Well, yeah, you can see they are in. And I'm sure they don't want the dirt disturbed.
Yeah.
But you can see the gun emplacement on this side. The iron ring's missing, but you know, there was a time when, like during World War II, there was a lot of, like railroads even, where they took up the iron rails and they melted them back down for tanks and whatnot. I mean, they had to use every scrap of iron they could get their hands on, you know. But you can see where this gun emplacement was. But over there on the other battery, you could see where the big iron ring was that the battery, the gun turned on. But 14 miles it could chunk a shell. And the big battleships of World War II, at least the latest ones, they could chunk a shell 25 miles, about the size of a small Volkswagen. So, and at one time I had heard that some of those guns still existed in storage at Crane Naval Air Base, but I'm sure they're long gone now, because all of the old battleships are all decommissioned now. So you don't need them big 16-inch guns. That's the Iowa class battleships, the latest ones. Of course, if you think about the Texas, it had 14-inch guns. But then again, it was built before World War I. Where the Iowa class was built, you know, prior to World War II and through World War II, served in Korea and some in Vietnam. So, can you imagine chunking a bomb the size of a small Volkswagen 25 miles? Jeez. Turn this way so the wind won't make so much noise. But I'm trying to use my imagination here. I mean, this concrete works. And the sign says it was the mess hall for the enlisted. Of course, the building is long gone, but try to use your imagination of what was there. And on the other side of the street here was supply administration. And I'm sure that you use your imagination to try to think about what kind of building was there. And of course, this was the main entrance. The Kimball battery on the left, and then the main battery over there on the right. So this kind of stuff fascinates me. Maybe it's because I'm ex-military, but I don't know. We're gonna go back to the truck. Mom's already there. We're gonna drive over to where the campground area is. There's a big pavilion over there, so we're gonna have our picnic over there. So we'll see you in a minute. This is Battery Rudolph. You can see the kind of gun emplacement that was here, and when they first built it, in that picture, and then the design drawings. Battery owner says one of the two original batteries constructed when Fort Travis was built was named after 2nd Lieutenant Rudolph Ernst, United States 6th Infantry, who was killed at Molina del Rey, Mexico on September 28, 1847. Built of reinforced concrete, contained 3 small 3-inch caliber rapid-fire pedestal guns, like what it's in the picture. Magazines, but its purpose was to defend the harbor entrance against torpedo boats and raiding parties. Battery was damaged during the 1900 storm and was not re-garrisoned until 1911. Yeah. Yeah, and this is what's left of the building. You can see up the stairs where the railing is, what's left of the mounting where the guns were mounted. And of course the storage buildings down below where the doors are open on it. And then there's one mount point there and one mounting here and one over here, so there's 3 mounted. But thought I'd give you a shot of that too. The stairs that go up the side, so you could walk up, you know, the guys could walk up on top of the battery. Okay guys, there's some dolphins right off the point. And of course, now that I'm over here and got the camera set up, they're not up here anymore. So they were really close to the point here, but I don't see them now. Of course, by the time I got over here, there's one. Didn't come up very far. You can see it. It's right out there. There's a couple of them out there. A while ago, Tammy and I was sitting over there at the picnic tables, and it looked like they were just frolicking around out there, splashing and having a good time. Of course, we didn't have our camera ready, so there's some right there. You can see them. They're right out there. Like Tammy and I were talking. Sometimes you're having a bad day. If you come out to a place like this and just relax and enjoy nature, then it seems like your problems aren't near as bad as what you thought they were. But anyway, there's one. See it? They're just off the point. Dolphins are a friend of man. Anyway, Tam and I were talking about coming back out here at sunset. And we're facing southwest. There's those dolphins over there. It should be a spectacular sunset on a clear night. So we'll have to make it back out here during sunset. And then we can maybe enjoy that. But it's really an enjoyable place. It's not busy at all. Fort Travis, oh, there's a dolphin right there. Real close. Fort Travis Park is a really nice park. Not crowded at all. The Bolivar Peninsula, it really isn't crowded. I mean, it's not built up like Galveston is. So there's a dolphin. They're really close now. So you can really come out and join the day with the kids. They got some playground equipment out here too. So, well, come on, Mr. Dolphin or Mrs. Dolphin, whichever you are. Usually they run in pairs, but hopefully you got to see it. It's really calming though out here. I mean, it's, like I said, Fort Travis is a really, really nice place for the kids, picnics, those kind of things. You can tent camp out here. And they got little charcoal grills. They've got bathroom facilities. So it's a really nice park, and it's nice that they've set this area aside and not really built it up. But see, there's Mom way back over there. It's on a bird watching stand. But you can really see just how big, expansive an area this is. And it's really, really beautiful. So we're glad we found it. So if you're out this way, take the ferry, come across to the boat. Ooh, look at that. Right there it was. Did you see that? Come across to the Bolivar Peninsula. I can't talk today. And have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Hope you enjoyed these videos that we're shooting, and we'll try to make some more.